They're now live.
There's exactly, in particular, one newspaper that continuously wrote very incorrect information. But before I go further, I must say, I'm very happy that you in South Africa, as journalists and people that report to the public, have tried to be responsible in the way you were reporting, although the story would not be nice to write about, but at least it was tried to be in a responsible manner, because I was not forthcoming. And I made it very difficult for you to get the facts. And now it's time for me to break my silence, and it's time for me to tell you what the real story is. The reason why we're here today is also just to talk to you about, first, let me tell you where I come from. As you know, I am a businesswoman. I'm the first black mining entrepreneur in the country 30 years ago. And I started during the apartheid regime, where the laws were saying both black and white women are not allowed to go underground and are not allowed to do production work. I had to defy legislation, like all of us defied legislation, whether it was socio-economic or political legislation, to do the right thing. And to date, 30 years down the line, I'm a producer of minerals all over the world. I've been in and out of the parliament, assisting with the legislation, whether it's mining legislation or B codes, whatever. And in countries where I also operate, I also interact with those governments, especially in Africa, and emerging economies, to try and share what might be going not too correctly in their legislation. Before I delve in, I was the first person in South Africa to go to the Portfolio Committee of Mines and Portfolio Committee of Trade and Industry and Portfolio Committee of the Finance to inform the government of South Africa about the illicit outflow of capital, transfer pricing, and money laundering that has been happening with many companies, whether it's mining companies or manufacturing companies or many companies, mainly companies that are offshore producers, or companies that are offshore listed companies with a primary listing outside South Africa. Not so much guilty our South African companies with a primary listing here, because they are under the control of our Reserve Bank. And luckily for us, South Africa, after continuous interactions with the Portfolio Committee, the former Minister of Finance, Minister Nene, then created a Judge Dennis Davis Commission, and that Judge Dennis Davis Commission is looking into all this money laundering, illicit outflow of capital, and all that. But to date, you find that here is the very person that has been trying to erode those kind of practices in South Africa, that is in another country being accused in an affidavit for being part of this. So let me walk through the story with you. And a lot of the story, there's a lot of reputational damage that has been done, and incorrect reporting to the extent that you have character assassination. And in particular, I want to single out the standard. I fail to understand how a newspaper can just on their own, religiously, and without stopping, just continue to write a lot of incorrect nonsense about individuals and about certain citizens of their country. And let me walk you through what I'm talking about. But before I go any further, I want to just share this with you, because when I asked myself, why is it that we are having so much misinformation reported, something came to my mind when I read this on the 23rd of August. There's been a court case that has been going on, and this court case that is going on it's not this one. Oh, yeah, here it is. The court case that's going on in Botswana, it's a lady who is married to to an intelligence agent. And this intelligence agent, the woman is saying the following in the court case, in the divorce case. She's now spilling the beans. She says her husband and the Department of Intelligence in Botswana has been involved in certain things. The role of human and digital intelligence in a political campaign details how the spy unit could assist the BDP candidates to win in October using clandestine operations such as espionage, black propaganda, spy ring, black budget funds, and counterintelligence to infiltrate and fight the opposition. It even suggests the elimination of targets when necessary. The document starts off opposing the use of black propaganda, which is described as false information and material that purports to be from a source of their side of the campaign. But it is actually from the opposite side. It is typically used to vilify, embarrass, or misrepresent the enemy. The report explains and then goes on to suggest another technique called spy ring, which entails using people who are good communicators who can live in the enemy circles and know their friends. I am now going to show you step by step, by virtue of going to various articles, how they've been doing this, to me in particular. And then I have, after me, a gentleman here with us who came from Botswana, who's the lawyer of a victim who is in jail, who's also suffering that, and he'll also tell his story. He's a lawyer. So let's go through it. This newspaper says, I've been involved in money. The South African businesswoman Bridgette Motsepe has been fingered out in ongoing case against this Grace Diaz agent. And this Grace Diaz agent, Wilhelmina Maswabi, the lawyer is sitting here. He'll talk to you after this. And the name is called Butterfly. Motsepe is said by the state to have opened an account with Butterfly. The money which is alleged to be financing terrorism. Now, I'm not financing terrorism. Previously, when there was a party election for the election of the president, I was financing regime change, what they say. Now, from regime change is terrorism. The money is alleged to be financing terrorism is linked to Isaac Kgosi. Motsepe's name is listed in the state's replying affidavit on why Butterfly should not be granted bail. The case continues. The lawyer will continue talking about it later. And what I'm saying, and also they go further, the High Court of Botswana has dismissed the bail application, and the application is facing criminal charges of financing terrorism, possession of unexplained property, and false declaration for passport. The Director of Public Prosecution has revealed that the applicant has over 390 million in her personal account. He'll speak about it further, let me not go back. But they say the evidence gathered by the state has linked the applicant to the South African businesswoman Bridgette Motsepe. She is also alleged to be the former spy chief lover of Kgosi. Am I the lover of Kgosi, or is your client the lover of Kgosi? Your client, okay. And is he called, I won't call animals by name. Anyway, so I don't know the client of the gentleman. I've never met her in my life. It's the first time I meet the gentleman. And also, I also have not in my life ever had any dealings with her in terms of an account. I've never been involved in money laundering, and I've never been involved in illicit outflow of capital. And affidavit states that the stolen money from the Bank of Botswana was banked in an offshore bank account. It says that this intelligence agent and I transferred the money from the offshore account to Isaac Kgosi's intelligence. Now, I don't know anything about it. Now, if you open an account with the bank, obviously the banks will say, yes, the person was here. Even if he wants to lie, you walk in the bank, there are cameras, they'll see. So I need, from this point onwards, and as we go along, you'll understand why I'm saying I need this. I need a lot of investigations to be done, not just by Judge Dennis Dashford's commission, but also from experts that are going to interrogate and investigate what really is happening here in South Africa, in Botswana, and all over the world. Interpol must get involved, and everybody must get involved. The next one is the Sunday Standard. Here they say that I was having dealings with the UDC. Now here I'm saying is that I do not know the UDC leaders, and I've never had any dealings with any of them. But in this paper they say UDC in secret deal with Bridgette Motsepe and Khama. I don't know them, and I've never had any dealings with them. And further, then this one is about a launch, a party launch that was supposed to take place in Botswana, in Soroe, and I'm supposed to be a speaker. And they even have this. Now, funnily, there's never been a party launch like that ever planned by that organization. It never took place because it was never ever planned. Even if I wanted to go to Botswana, the visa restrictions would apply. It's because they put me on the visa restriction by allegedly saying I was trying to do regime change in Botswana. And if you go further, here's another one that says I was banned by the European Union. And that what happened when I applied to Ambassador Tembi through Ambassador, or our South African ambassador in London, Tembi Tambo, and our South African French ambassador in France for a visa. Now, I've never applied to any of them, asked for them or Ambassador Andrew Young for any assistance for a visa. If you can ask them, they'll tell you so. I've never tried to go to London or Europe in those months, and I've never applied for any visa. Now, why would anyone go out of their way to make such lies? And then ANC has summoned me, they say. Now, if you ask the Secretary General of the ANC, he'll tell you he doesn't know what he's speaking about. I've never been summoned by the ANC, so I don't know where they get that from. And here they say I'm going to be axed by BBC, by Black Business Council and Business Council. I'm still the chairperson of Black Business Council. Yesterday we had a national council's meeting and I was making a presentation. There's never any axing. And why would they ax the person who's their chairperson for things she hasn't done? And the BRICS Business Council, I'm still a member of the BRICS Business Council. I will be going to Brazil next week, the end of on the 7th, during November, for the summit, the BRICS summit. And the further one says, now, there's also evidence gathered by Belemina Maswabi. That's about the spies. We say that they came in. I say I would welcome any official investigation by the relevant authorities in South Africa, Botswana, and elsewhere. And I'm also a businesswoman in good standing. I would like really for everybody who is an authority in the investigation to go even as far as the Bank of Botswana and search what it is that they say I've done. Come to this organization, come to South Africa and search, go offshore and search, and let the truth be told. And now, it doesn't end there. Even our South African Defense Force had to make a statement that they were not going to coup Botswana. But the reason why I brought the Defense Force in is because in the next slide that I'm going to show you, you see there's the brigadier's numbers here in the Defense Force, and you see what he was saying. They were also not going to coup Botswana. But they say, where I'm talking about the Defense Force, that Bridgette Motsepe has paid money to Samson Dumamoyo, which is used to recruit young Bakarashi boys in Botswana who are being trained at this concentration time in Botswana by former commandos loyal to Ian Khama to be used as front team on a civil unrest. But it says further about the South African Defense Force. There will be some Bridgette Motsepe from South Africa Army who have been close leading the civil unrest. So a few months ago, they were saying our Defense Force was going to coup, and the Brigadier General had to respond, and his telephone number is there, and you saw the response here that I spoke to you about. But as if they didn't have enough. Then they come back and they say, I'm going to fund some soldiers of our Defense Force dressed in civilian clothes to go and create unrest. Now I ask myself, what the hell is happening? Sometimes I look at this and I laugh. It's like I'm looking at a James 007 movie, Are these things really true? And you will find out from the relevant authorities that that's nonsense. It's not true. And if you see further, it says that, black propaganda is described as false information. And the above article was written earlier this year by the South African Defense Force, and the Defense Force also implicates were lies and false. And then about my close relationship with President Khama. There are allegations that the husband is supposed to have been having a case against him or something like that. I'm shocked because there's nothing like that. The Khama family and my father, President Khama's father, Sir Seretse Khama, who was the first president in 1966 in Botswana, he and my dad, before he became a president, before he even married, were best friends at Fort Hare University. That's how far our life goes with the Khama family. And from Fort Hare University, being very close, the late Ntate Motlana, they were at Fort Hare. The friendship then continues even after I went to university. And when I went to university in Botswana, and Botswana is like a second home. Very close to many people. You've read about Vincent Motoy. She was like a big sister to me, and it's like a second home. So the allegations that are being said about anything beyond the friendship and anything beyond what I'm saying is all incorrect. Now I ask myself, who is going to gain anything by trying to do this? And I want to remind you, South Africans, remember where we come from as South Africans? Every day of our lives, we had no freedom of the press. And we also had a lot of incorrect reporting against us. And incorrect reporting. And false reporting, especially false reporting. If you've seen the documentary that was done on Mama Winnie, how a lot of money was spent by the previous regime and the underground operatives and those spy agents actually confessing on that documentary that they did that. A lot of money was spent. And this money was spent to character assassinate and false reporting and destroy her. Now I'll ask myself, what is the motive of countries' intelligence agents identifying individuals, citizens of our country, and in this case me, and maybe there might be others, and coming with lies that you can verify? You heard that I was supposed to have been imprisoned in Zimbabwe, and that I arrived in Zimbabwe with money, and that money was something like 22 million from my brother Patrice and 60 million from I don't know where. And President Khama came, and he was supposed to have taken the money, but the Zimbabwean authorities, they imprisoned me, they confiscated the car, the plane, and all that. Did anyone try to phone the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Zimbabwe, or did anyone try to phone the Minister of Finance, Minister of Police, to find out whether these things happen? Because if anyone tried to do that, they'll be told it never happened. And they'll be told that Ambassador Stuart McCormick, who was the ambassador on duty that day, representing the Minister of Foreign Affairs, came to the plane where I landed, where the people arrived, after having assisted President Khama with his landing, took me in the car, drove with me to the State Protocol Lounge, assisted me and my passports in the customs for entry clearance, and then we drove to the Vic Falls to have a lunch with Ambassador Andrew Young. And after that, we went back. And that's what happened. But when we came back, the Sunday Standard reported all the nonsense. And of course, many of you got it from the Sunday Standard, and I must say, in a very difficult way, you had to do reporting because we did not respond to you as and when those few or one or two or three people asked to respond, a response from us. So you've been very responsible and you've tried. It's not nice what you wrote about me, but you did it in a responsible manner, and it wasn't you who did it. And where is people's freedom? And what are my human rights supposed to be in any part of the world? And I'm now saying, I'm pleading for the Botswana government to do what the country has always been. The country is an ethical, very unique country. When I went to the United Nations General Assembly, I was in the General Assembly, the day President Obama did his last speech as the President of America in the UN General Assembly. He singled Botswana as one of those countries with ethical conduct, unique financing and everything in the General Assembly. And I was so proud. Sitting there, I had the opportunity to texting my friends in Botswana to say, Viva Botswana, you know, you've done well. You're flying the Botswana flag. But today, will we be able to say those things about our country? The country that is so unique. And I'm pleading that they go back to that the intelligence agents do their work, that the officials and the leaders of Botswana embrace what they've always been taught to do. Ethical leadership and morally correct leadership. And please let us all continue doing what we have been doing. You have been great at fighting against the injustice of this country. Continue to do that. And I'm asking you to also do your research. I can give you the numbers of the people to interview or whatever if you need to in terms of your research. I have now done my story, and I don't think, do you want the other gentleman to come? Yes. Because the lawyer is still here, I don't know.
To give the lawyer an opportunity.
Do you want us to ask questions or do you want the lawyer to come?
Start with questions.
Start with questions. Yeah.
Okay, so because of seniority and also deserves to be granted her request, we will go to the questions and just introduce yourselves and the media company you're from. So we'll start with Sophie Debubo from NCA. We'll come to you. Sophie.
I just want to find out why only now, but secondly, as these allegations made the rounds, did you perhaps try to interact with the Botswana authorities? And also, the delay itself, don't you think it has affected perhaps the relations between South Africa and Botswana? So the first question, why only now? Two, did you reach out to Botswana authorities to try and clear this matter as early as possible? And also, don't you think by that delay, this could have affected the relations between South Africa and Botswana?
In terms of the relations between South Africa and Botswana, you are aware that the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dirko, Minister Sisulu, went there, and she made the relevant statements in terms of what the outcome was. That was positive, and that was put to rest. And secondly, why only now? If you see how this newspaper has been writing, I did, through the Mail and Guardian, did my statement. And we also sent to some of the media people a note from my lawyers to indicate that this is not true. And, many of the media people from the lawyers. So there was a response. But was I now going to every week, like you see, every Sunday, except one Sunday? The one Sunday was during the Sunday of the voting. I said, oh gosh, what have I done wrong this time? Because every time I do something right, they write all nonsense about what I've never done. They've been writing. So am I now every week going to go back to some newspaper that has no credibility and be swept to that level? Or am I just going to have Botswana go through the elections, let the country come back to its stability? I am going to sue the newspaper, by the way, and then go and sue. As you know, Mr. Motsepe, you've read about it, you've written about it, is also suing the newspaper. So that's what's going to happen. But it's a newspaper, and why only now? Because 2 days ago, the lawyer, I got an affidavit of now this new case, that now I'm a terrorist. It's not something that has been going on, the terrorism, that I'm funding terrorism, and I'm now a co-signatory with his client in money that has been stolen from Botswana. In the affidavit, they say and I'm standing to be corrected, $10 billion. That is nearly 150 billion rands. You know what I mean? So I then realized, no, let me just, before our newspaper get frustrated again in me not going into a Sunday Standard tit-for-tat conversation on a daily Sunday, let me rather call the media and just give my story.
But have you reached out to the authorities in Botswana?
I was at the World Economic Forum. I know President Masisi, we're at varsity together. So we greeted each other, we even took a picture, and I asked him, can I come and see you? Because I need to talk to you about what is happening. And you know what? We are proteges of great men and great women in this country. Nelson Mandela, my parents, Tate Sisulu, Tate Oliver Tambo. And we were taught one thing, unity and reconciliation. All I've been doing whenever I talk to my family people and my friends in Botswana, I always tell them, even Tate Mandela did tit for tat and create a Palestine-Israeli conflict beyond us winning the elections. He brought in former President de Klerk and made him deputy president. And I always say, please, let us learn from our forefathers and let us learn from our elders. Unite and reconcile, and this is what we do. To date, even President Ramaphosa brought the Lille in. We unite. Even in Parliament, we bring opposition party members. Let us unite. That is what I always do, because that is how we were brought up in this country, and that is the formula that has always won.
Okay, Debo.
Thank you. My name is Moluko.
Oh, Moluko, sorry, my apologies.
No problem. From ENCA. Well, I think my other question really, you responded to people who said you're going to take legal action against the newspaper. But I wonder whether you suspect that President Masisi is behind this, given the fact that at the time when these allegations came to the fore, he was...
All right, there you go. Businesswoman Bridgette Motsepe-Radebe says she is breaking her silence, and she's going through a number of allegations that was leveled against her. And a lot revolves around a newspaper in Botswana and a series of articles that were published that, in effect, was centered and alleged Radebe was centered around a campaign to unseat the current president, Masisi. So she is denying regime change involvement, and also says she is not financing terrorism. Now, with regards to her relationship with the former president, Ian Khama, she did say that the first president of Botswana, Sir Khama, and her father were friends. And so anything beyond a friendship with regards to Ian Khama is totally incorrect. And with regards to suing the paper, well, she says she will, just like her brother Patrice. That was the media briefing by businesswoman Bridgette Motsepe-Radebe. All right, well, tomorrow